Hey guys, Aggie K, wealth therapist, coming at you from a little Starbucks parking lot action because there's people cleaning my house today and I don't like to be there when they clean. Are you the same? So I'm coming at you from the Starbucks parking lot doing a little work here today and wanted to hop on and talk about resistance to being the authority. Resistance to being the authority in your life, in your industry, in your parenting, in your life decisions, basically anywhere, right? Resistance to being the authority, what's going on there? Because this has to do with resistance to being the authority with your money, right? The resistance to being the authority in your financial decisions, in the way that you make money. So what's going on here, right? What's going on with not wanting to be the authority or resistance to being the authority in your life? What can happen for people is that they feel if they were the authority, they feel that they would have to be perfect, that they would never be able to be wrong. They'd never be able to make mistakes. So if you have a fear around that, then there's going to be resistance to the authority, to becoming the authority, because you feel like you have to answer all the questions, you have to know everything, you have to get it right, you have to be the be all and the end all to being the authority. And that you're going to be responsible in a way, because you're the authority, that in a way that you won't be able to handle, right? That you'll have to be perfect and like PhD in everything. And that can keep us from wanting to be the authority of our lives. That can keep us in wanting to just stay stunted at a certain level, where we're always the student, never the master. Where we're always like perpetually, and obviously like perpetually learning is great, but like perpetually not making the kind of money we would make if we were the authority, we're not going to stand out, right? We're not going to stand out. We're not going to be the go-to person, because there's fear there. And energetically, people can sense that and don't really want to give their money to people who are in not total trust that they know what they're doing, that they're the authority, that, and that, brings up for people, well, if I'm the authority, then I'm going to have to be responsible for results, or I'm going to be and that's like codependency 101, right? I'm going to be responsible for how you feel. And that's something absolutely to work through. It says low connection, so let me know if you guys can still see me. So that's absolutely something you have to work through, those places of insecurity about, well, what would make you feel like the authority? Really get to the essence of what authority feels like. And authority for me is really being in our power, right? Authority is just being in your power, standing in your power, and feeling like you are good and what you have to offer is good. But essentially that you are good and you are powerful and you have choices. And when we've been like in a pattern of being a victim of our circumstances or our relationships or our money, then we can feel, it can be very, very strange to step into the identity of authority. Because guess what? Then there's nothing standing in the way of you making yourself happy and you making the kind of money you want to make and you attracting the types of opportunities that you want to attract. Everything kind of changes when you decide that you're the authority and you're no longer going to participate in this pattern where someone or something or some external thing is going to tell you what to do. So I want you to take a look at why you would be avoiding your own power. Okay, I want you to take a look at that. Why would I be avoiding my own power? Why would I be avoiding my own authority? Because if I was the authority in my life, I would immediately change what would you change immediately? If you were the ultimate authority in your life, because you are, whether you recognize that right now or not. And I have lots of compassion, for you if you don't recognize it in this moment and you think that you are still sort of a victim of circumstance. And I don't mean that like in a really light way, that some people really truly feel that way. And I have been there. I have totally been there. That was 100% my like low self-worth stuff that made me feel like I was not the authority of my life. Mostly because I had a very domineering parent that everything revolved around, moods, all the power was in that person, and we kind of all gave up our personal power to that person, everybody in my family. So that's how I got trained in giving up my authority. That was one piece of it. Being an immigrant was another piece of how I gave up my power, was I felt less than in that way. So there were all these ways in which I had to reclaim that for myself. I had to reclaim it from the men in my life. I had to reclaim it from how I felt I fit into society. I had to reclaim it in my business and in my money and what I felt I was worth, and that I was actually the authority, that I could actually decide how I spend my money and how I save my money, and I didn't just have to be a victim of my impulses. So there's absolutely a process of reclaiming. Ooh, well, that got really dark. What happened there? Oh, I'm there. It's really a process of reclaiming that authority. I don't think it's like a one-shot deal, but we have to face the places in which we feel weak or insecure to be able to stand in our authority. Because whatever is that thorn in your side that you think people will find out and they'll have pity on you, or they will be turned off by you, or they'll think you're not the real deal, you need to face those places now. And own up to them, or own them, or debunk them, or whatever the case might be, so that they're not standing in your way anymore. So take a look at, where am I not the authority over my money? In what areas of my financial life, of my earning capability, of my savings, of my money management? Where do I not feel like I am the authority over my money? Clean that up, figure that out and clean that up. And then look at, where are other areas where I don't feel like I'm the authority of my life? Do I feel like I'm the authority of my family, of my kids, of myself, that I can do what I want pretty much within reason? Where do I not feel that way? Do I not feel that way with my parents? Do I not feel that way with my partner? Do I not feel that way with my kids? Do I not feel like that way in social situations? Where is that coming up? And get to the root of that, because that authority piece is huge in how you show up in your industry as powerful. And it could be just sucking the life force out of you to be giving your power away. It usually does, it usually really just sucks the life out of you. And then you don't have the energy to show up as the authority in your business, or other areas of your life, because you're giving it away somewhere else. And that life force is so, so important. So clean up your choices. Take a look at, where am I still not feeling like the authority? Where am I still not feeling powerful in my life? And it's not like you need to make these huge decisions right away. It's all about micro decisions, right? It's all about micro decisions from like just having things the way you want them, and stepping into being authoritative over just mini things, small things that you might be dismissing. Hey, Denise, I think you're probably on your way here, going to be in Toronto soon. Yay. So it's about the micro decisions, the tiny little things that are dismissed, that you might dismiss as not a big deal. You need to build evidence with micro decisions and taking authority over those. Having your coffee the way you want it, making sure your kids speak to you the way that you want them to. If you're misunderstood, following up on that. If you said yes to something and you mean to say no, go retroactively and change it. Like, taking authority over micro things starts to give you the confidence to take authority in bigger ways. Now, if it's a bigger question of you're not sure you're an authority in your industry, that's a matter of collecting evidence and starting to show up as that. Well, what if you were? What if you asking yourself, well, what if I was an authority already? What if I was already an authority in my life and business, or in my business or in my industry? How would I be showing up differently? What would be different about how I feel? What would be different about how I think? How does a person who is standing in their power and in their authority think about XYZ? Right? Because that's ultimately what people are drawn to. People are drawn to people who are leaders, who have that sense of power about them. And what do you think about powerful people? What do you think about people in authority? Maybe you have hangups about it based on politics, based on people you've seen in power that have abused it. That doesn't have to be you. There can be a really healthy version of that. Let me know if you can still see me, guys, because it says low connection. So you need to define your own way of showing up in power and authority that feels really good to you. But what are the characteristics? Pop them in the comments. What do you think about when you think of people in their authority, and what do you think about them? Do you think they're intimidating, threatening, thoughtless, mean? What do you think about those people? Because that's what you're associating with authority to keep it away from you as a great reason to not step into your power or authority. And there's lots of leaders that are doing it in a really powerful and balanced way, that is respectful and kind. So there is a middle ground for that. Remember, whenever we're in extremes, we're in victim mentality. So you want to find that middle ground, but you also want to take a look at, am I afraid that I have to be perfect? Am I afraid that if I make a mistake, I'm going to get, totally annihilated? You want to take a look at what is scary to me about being the authority, what's scary to me about being the adult, what is scary to me about being that person in power that people are looking to, what freaks you out about that. That's going to tell you what's going on in your subconscious around authority. And who is the authority in your family, in your home, in your growing up? That should also tell you a lot subconsciously what you think about people who are the authority or in power, and why you might be resisting that, and how might it be beneficial to show up in your authority? And yes, it's an identity shift, yes, it absolutely is. And it takes some time and effort, but if that's what you're drawn to, if you're drawn to being a leader, if you're drawn to showing up, if you're drawn to, being seen as a professional in what you do, then you absolutely need to take a look at this stuff. Okay. Hope this was helpful. If you liked it, please, love, like, share. I will pop in the comments. I go deeper on all these kinds of topics inside Permission to Prosper, the self-paced program. I'll put the link below. Go ahead and check it out. And, I'll see you guys on the next video. Aggie K, Wealth Therapist.